You know, the United States of America was the greatest country before Trump, and it's the greatest country now after Trump. The white supremacists want to go back. They want to go back to the days when it was legal to own slaves.
You are about to be entertained by the ape, the young man who has become a legend of his own time. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Oh, what's going on, my peoples? Boy, I'm like crooked behind me. Oh, my goodness. Anyway, it's the Ron Kelly Show for another Thursday. It's October 6th, 2022. So thank you, everybody. Welcome to the program. Thank you. I appreciate you so much. Is that on my left side or my right side? It's been like a comedy of errors lately with this show. Yeah, because I couldn't connect. I'm late because I couldn't connect to Facebook. And Facebook is one of my main pages. I mean, yeah, the Ron Kelly Show is live on Facebook, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. But the Ron Kelly Show on Facebook is where it all begins. So I just couldn't go on without it. So for whoever's here, thank you so much. Appreciate you. It's the Ron Kelly Show on a balmy Thursday, actually, because it was just downright balmy today. 70 some odd degrees. The Lion weatherman says it's going to be the same thing tomorrow. Who knows? But the summer is over. So y'all out there with shorts on today and stuff, knock it off because you'll be coughing and wheezing tomorrow. Anyway, it's about 21 minutes past the hour. Very late. But I couldn't get a connection with Facebook for some reason. So I had to dig into the crates and figure out what was going on. No connection to Facebook. I was able to get linked the other three sites that I'm on, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter, but I couldn't get on to Facebook. So I had to go behind the scenes and dig, find out what was going on. Anyway, everybody, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. Glad to have you guys back. It's a pleasure. So tonight, I'm going to talk about gentrification. I'm going to talk about gentrification tonight. Also, I got a couple of subjects I want to approach. Not just gentrification, but I also want to talk about the Dems. Are the Dems doomed? For those of you who follow this kind of stuff, are the Dems doomed for the midterms? Are they doomed? I'm going to tell you what I think in just a minute. Anyway, the Ron Kelly Show is powered by Amaker and Porterfield Transportation. Since 1980, Amaker and Porterfield Transportation has been providing safe, reliable, courteous transportation to and from your destination. Schools, they handle the school kids. You got to be careful with those kids. Schools, field trips, church trips, you name it, Amaker and Porterfield can handle it. I'll get into them a little bit more later on. You can give them a call, 908-753-6423, 908-753-6423. So welcome. Thanks for joining me, everybody. Appreciate you. Appreciate all the folks, the YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter. Really doesn't pay me that much attention, but that's okay because in the words of Jack Nicholson, wait till you get a load of me. Anyway, it's 23 minutes past the hour. And, I've been up in Harlem recently. And, I saw a lot of white folks up in Harlem. There's a lot of complaining going on that the properties are being stolen from the folks who are there already. And, what happens? Whose fault is that? I'll get to that in just a few minutes. But, the level of violence in America, in the United States of America, is like really unprecedented right now. The violence, the killings that's going on, not just across the board, not just in the minority community, because that's not where all the violence takes place. But there is an unprecedented amount of violence going on in the United States of America these days. As you know, the United States of America is the murder capital of the world. More people get killed, shot, whatever, in the United States of America than anywhere else. They get killed here. People get killed in America more than any place else. And it's unbelievable that the scope and the level, unprecedented level of violence is going on in America today. It's just unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. So what do we contribute that to? I'll get to that, and I'll get to your comments. If you have any, just go to your Facebook and just, just like you would do anything else, just send me your message and I'll make sure it gets on the air and I will engage you in some conversation. All right. 25 minutes past the hour. So, I used to live in Paterson, New Jersey, not to kick Paterson, New Jersey's back in, but I used to live in Paterson, New Jersey. And, I basically mostly lived there because I had to at that time. I wasn't bringing in the income I bring in now. So I was kind of stuck in Paterson, New Jersey. And it's not so much Paterson, New Jersey, because I know, I lived there for 13 years in Paterson, New Jersey. And I don't want to be specific about Paterson, New Jersey, but I want to be specific about the hood, quote unquote hood area, And most of us, when we get to a certain point, we move. A lot of us move. We move to better place, Montclair and, Bloomfield, New Jersey, and some of the other places, some of the more suburban communities that are much safer than the ones that, Newark and, Avon Avenue, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So when we get to a point where we start making more money, we leave. I'm gone. Which is what I did. 2009, I moved to Montclair, New Jersey, a mostly white, suburban, the police come when you call them type of community. And so what does that say about me? What does that say about us who leave the hood, so to speak, and move to a safer community? What does that say about us? So what happens when the Black folks and minorities start to vacate these areas? Guess what happened? White people move in. This is what happened in Harlem. When Black folks got to a certain income level, they left Long Island and, Forest Hills and going to some of these other places where the level of violence is not near as critical as it is in the place where they lived at. So what do we expect to happen when Black folks vacate, Black folks and minorities? I don't want to put it all on Black folks. What happens when we vacate the community? Because I certainly did. I lived in a town that had a high level of crime. And when I got to the point where I started making the money that I needed to make, I left immediately. And see, and this is what happens in the Black community. Our people, support the Black community, support the Black businesses, support. But when you get to the level of income that you need to live somewhere else, guess what? You leave. A lot of us do. A lot of Black folks leave and move to safer communities. So what does that say about us? What does that say about our commitment to the Black community? What does it say about us sticking and staying? You can say what you want to say about me, but I'm like, look, I'm out. And I left. And right now I live in a town called Montclair. I know that this show is broadcast all across the United States of America, but I live in a town called Montclair, New Jersey. High net worth community, mostly white folks. And I love it. I have no regrets about leaving the hood to move to a better community. So what happens? So when black folks vacate an area, other ethnic groups see opportunity in those areas. And guess what? They come in, they buy the buildings, they fix them up, and they raise the rent. And so Lamont Gates says, I don't believe that's a black issue. It's a rational human issue to move to a safe community. Kanye West. I saw that. I saw Kanye West's t-shirt, white people do matter. I'm like, well, I'll never wear that. I mean, yes, I do believe that white people matter, but I don't think I'll be wearing it. Thank you, Lamont Gates. Lamont Gates show, NDE, near-death experiences. And I guess living in the hood, you're going to have a lot of near-death experiences, waiting for the bus stop and somebody jumps out of their car, sticks a gun in your face. But, well, you know what, Lamont? You see, the problem is that you don't see white people bailing out of the suburbs. You don't see the white people or people who of a certain income. You don't see them hightailing it back to the hood. They stay where they're at. So, it may not be a black issue per se, but it is a black issue because most of the crime takes place, where black folks live. Lamont Gates says that's because it's a safer community. Well, so when white folks come into these communities, that happened in Patterson, it happens in Harlem, it happens in a lot of communities of color in the United States of America, where when black folks leave, white folks move in. Lamont Gates says the point is safety, not race. No, but I'm not hightailing it out of Montclair because I'm afraid that somebody's going to break my car window or something like that, which has happened a few times in Patterson. And not to kick Patterson's back in now. I know a lot of people who live there, my friends, and many of the R. Kelly show listeners are from areas like Patterson. So no, I'm not kicking Patterson's back in. I'm just using it as an example of a place that, that's not so, you don't see people, a place that's not so desirable, in other words. So God, I need some more light. It is like too dark in here. 27 minutes before the hour. So when opportunistic people come into the neighborhood that we vacated, now we start talking about, it's people are, white folks are always taking over. And see, Suzanne Newman, haven't seen her in a while. Suzanne Newman, how are you? Good to see you here. Unless it's like an area that is on the verge of being gentrified, like Hoboken, Greenpoint, Williamsburg. And Suzanne Newman, who is Caucasian, says that's where white and rich folks flock to. And black folks who have a little bit of money. First, because it's cool. Yes. Hoboken is like the place to be. 1 square mile and 50 million people live there. Lamont Gates says, of course, you're not leaving the place of safety. That's the central reason for leaving the unsafe place. And Lamont Gates, suffice it to say, I don't take pride or have any particular pleasure in saying that, but the areas where African Americans live for the most part are not safe. The places where African Americans live for the most part are not safe. because I lived in the hood, and as soon as I got to the income level that I needed to get to, I bounced. See, thank you, Lamont Gates. Lamont Gates says I left too. I get it, yeah, because you don't want to come outside and your windows broken in and somebody's gonna rifle through your car, and it's not to say that only happens in communities of color, because that's not true. 35. I forgot how old I am. Yeah, and see that it's not true that this stuff only happens in communities of color. It happens everywhere, but mostly in communities of color. So is it that people of color are just criminal minded, or is it because of the economic situation? So is a poor community more is a poor community more likely to commit violence, or is it something else? Lamont Gates says culture. Look, I didn't grow up, nobody was saying, okay, when you grow up, you got to go out and rob this bodega. Suzanne Newman says, I lived in a white neighborhood in the 70s. It changed. My mom. I guess there's some more to that statement from Suzanne Newman. Lamont Gates says, rather the culture that they accept. So what is it, Lamont Gates? Oh, my mom stayed there until 15 years ago. And see, so what is it? Is it that does poverty accelerate violence? Is my question. Does poverty accelerate violence? Is my question. Because it seems like most of the crime, and it's petty crime that takes place in poor communities. Suzanne Newman says, my home was burglarized while we were sleeping. Yeah, see, and Suzanne Newman lives in Staten Island, in a nice neighborhood. So, man, if somebody comes to my house while I'm sleeping, they're going to get killed. Okay, I may run over 8:00 tonight because I didn't start until late because I couldn't connect with Facebook. And I love my Facebook people. Suzanne Newman says every member of my family was loved. But okay, so when Suzanne Newman this was Brooklyn. Okay, when I come back, when I ask you were they black or white, you don't have to answer if you don't want to. Anyway, we'll take a quick break. We'll come right back with more of this program. Well, I can go get some water because I'm dying of thirst. It's the Ron Kelly Show, everybody, and it's on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter, and of course, the RonKellyShow.com. Yes, indeed, I am the man. What a news cycle this is. This guy has got to go. Trump has got to go. George Floyd snuffed out by this police officer who's supposed to be serving and protecting people.
It's the Ron Kelly Show.
Alrighty then, welcome back. It's the Ron Kelly Show. I have a couple things I want to talk about before I get out of here. It's 22 minutes before the hour. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me. October 6th already, 2021. So Suzanne Newman, 2022. So Suzanne Newman, how old were you at that time? I'd be interested to know. And the question is still there, people. Does poverty accelerate violence? That's what I want to know. Lamont Gates says, and culture doesn't simply mean what your parents taught you. Much of culture is learned from peers. For example, no one's parents told their kids to listen to and see Lamont Gates. And I grew up in Jersey City, good old Jersey City, New Jersey. That's where I grew up at. Shout out to my Jersey City peeps: Storms Avenue, Monticello, Wegman Parkway, Jackson Avenue. Well, they call it Martin Luther King now. And I told y'all, if you're looking for black folks, look for Martin Luther King Drive. The gentleman that tore the gentleman who tore my grandmother's religious medal off my neck was black. Wow. Well, thank God that, the grandma and everybody else are okay. But I grew up in Jersey City, New Jersey. There wasn't a lot of role models. I grew up in Jersey City, which is right now it's the place to be downtown. Anyway, I'm sorry to hear about your grandma, Suzanne Newman. Grandma should have had a gun. Okay, and so I grew up in Jersey City, and most of my friends at the time, growing up in the 70s and 80s, they had they were car thieves. That was mostly the thing back then, was car thieves, snatching pocketbooks and stuff like that. And yeah, it was part of the culture, but I never did any of that stuff. Well, my friends, I'm hanging out with my friends, and they get this bright idea that they want to go out and rob somebody. I would go home, and they would call me all kinds of names. Oh, you're a punk, you're a fag, and all of this stuff, because I don't want to, I didn't want a record. And to this day, I still don't have one. And that was the culture, Lamont Gates, back then, probably before you were born. That was the culture back then. Was no, you might have been here. That was the culture back then. But I didn't partake in it. And and you living in the hood, and a lot of people grow up in the hood, and they latch on to whatever's going on. My friend, I have a friend right now in Ohio who's doing life for murder. And but I never followed my friends, and they went to do what they make it do what it do. I left. Because my mother wasn't going for it. Lamont Gates says, you're still admitting the culture existed. Poverty does not necessarily dictate violence. Think of poor Chinese immigrants that struggle from scratch in the U.S. who band together, who aren't on MLK robbing it's passers-by, Lamont Gates. But I do understand what you meant. The culture, the criminal-minded culture does exist, Lamont. The criminal mindedness does exist. Yes, absolutely, 100%. But it's up to the kid, me in this circumstance, it was up to the kid if whether I was going to partake in it or not. And I decided early on, with 12, 13 years old, that I wasn't going to rob, snatch pocketbooks. And I wasn't going to, my mother worked in the St. Mary's Hospital in Hoboken, and somebody snatched her pocketbook. We went down there to try to see if we could find the cat. Of course, we didn't. Me and my brother, who's gone on to he passed away recently. Suzanne Newman says, nickel bags with my bestie in the projects, and we were very safe. See, because back then, white folks lived in the projects too. See, white folks don't live in the projects no more. They left. But back when white folks lived in the projects, if you lived like around with the Gambinos and stuff like that, you wasn't doing nothing, because you out there find you floating in the Hudson River. So the neighborhoods where the Gambinos and some of those other people where they live, you didn't do nothing around there, But Lamont, you do make a good culture. The culture of crime does exist in the Black community. Absolutely, 100%. Yes, it does. The culture of crime does exist, because a lot of the kids grow up and they grow right into crime. They grow right into gangs. So there wasn't no gangs, not in my neighborhood. There wasn't no gangs. So, so there was no gangs in my neighborhood. So there was no gang to join. But yeah. So Lamont Gates makes a good point about culture. Suzanne Newman says, we called from a payphone. We were safe. They made sure we were safe. We were their little white friends. That is funny, Suzanne Newman. That is funny. The little white friends. Yeah, we got to keep them white folks safe. No Gambinos where you grew up. Okay. Yeah, there were no Gambinos where I grew up either. But my point is that, and Lamont Gates made a very good point about the culture of crime, not necessarily the necessity, because people weren't like robbing. People were not, I bet you were. People were, guys weren't robbing. People say, oh, I did this to feed my family or whatever the case may be. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Yeah. I did that to feed my family. No, you didn't. Okay, anyway, it's 14 minutes before the hour. I'm probably going to go past 8 o'clock because I didn't start the show until late. Because I couldn't connect with Facebook. And I wasn't doing no show unless I could connect with Facebook and connect with my people. So we'll take a break and I will segue into something else. We'll take a break and we'll come right back with more of this program. It's the Ron Kelly Show, everybody. And it's on blogtalkradio.com, the RonKellyShow.com, Facebook, and LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. Alrighty then, 908-753-6423. That's 908-753-6423. Connects you with Amica and Porterfield Transportation. For 42 long years, Amica and Porterfield has been providing safe, reliable transportation to and from your particular destination. Schools, businesses, field trips, church trips, you name it, Amica and Porterfield can handle it. Once again, give them a call, 908-753-6423. That's 908-753-6423. And when you do, you tell them you heard about it right here on the Ron Kelly Show for a 10%, a whopping 10% discount. So give them a call, 753-6423, 908-753-6423. The Ron Kelly Show is powered, which means they pay me, by Amica and Porterfield Transportation. So you got a little election going on. Mason Maher, never heard of him. Mason Maher versus Sheriff Burnick. Yeah. Mason Maher, Maher. And this is some local stuff. Just, apologies to my national audience, but I promised that I would speak out about this person, Mason Maher. You see that in Passaic County, the counties, the counties are like little hoods, basically. The counties, there's thousands of counties in the United States of America, thousands. And each one of these counties has a county sheriff. And each one of these counties has a boss hog. I'm sorry, Suzanne. Yeah, because I did text somebody. And each one of these counties is like a little, I wouldn't say a little criminal enterprise, but each one of these counties, like there's 21 counties in the state of New Jersey. Now, everybody knows how small New Jersey is. Florida has almost 70 counties. So when these sheriffs get together, they must have one hell of a time, the Sheriff's Association of America, whatever they call themselves. And some, depending on the party of the person, the party in power usually stays in power. Now, in Passaic County, which is, matter of fact, city of Patterson is the county seat where all county business goes down in the city of Patterson. And they take up all that downtown land and they don't pay a dime for the taxes, and the community suffers. The community suffers because the county does not pay taxes on the prime real estate that most of their operations are sitting on. It's something that never gets addressed. I posed the question. I've interviewed congressmen, and I even interviewed a senator from New Jersey, Senator Menendez. Interviewed him. Interviewed Congressman Pascrell, 6th District, I believe it is. Interviewed countless county sheriffs and mayors and council people, because that's how my show started back, in the early 2000s. The show was mostly about politics. I mean, I've kind of segued away from that, even though I do talk about politics, but I talk about politics on a national level. And I have interviewed plenty of politicians. I don't do it much anymore. Assemblymen, assemblywomen, state senators, you name it. I can go in my archives and, anybody who's anybody in Passaic County. That's where I started out at, actually. I live in Essex County now. But anybody who's anybody in Passaic County knows me. Either they like me or they don't, but they know me, which is fine. Love me or hate me, but listen to me. So anyway, you have this Mason Maher, who's running for the sheriffs, running for the sheriff's department. Now, the sheriff's department, well, the sheriff's department, first of all, being the sheriff, I don't know if voting, I don't think that the sheriff should belong to any particular party. Okay. I don't want to vote for the sheriff because he's a Democrat or because he's a Republican. I want to vote for the sheriff because I think he's going to do the job and get things done. So, but the sheriff's office has been permeated, for lack of a better word, by politics. So when and that's the only office in the whole county that you have to pick a party, either the Republicans or the Democrats. So we always have this Mason Maher, who is running for sheriff and doing a fairly good job of getting out there. See him everywhere. But I never saw Mr. Maher until he decided to run for sheriff. Prior to that, I'd never even heard of him. But that's the problem with some of these local elections. And see, you need to be out there a year before you run, 2 years before you run. Show up here, show up there, make your presence known before you decide to run. And Mason Maher didn't do that. He just kind of popped up. Now he's doing a whale of a job. I mean, the lawn signs are everywhere. They even got a bus with his name splattered across the side of it. And my good buddy, I'm not going to say his name, but my good buddy is supporting Mr. Maher, which was shocking to me, supporting Mason Maher for sheriff of this county of Passaic. And the problem is that, you know, either you're a Democrat or you're Republican running for sheriff. And running for the sheriff should be nonpartisan. There should be no political connections for when you're running for sheriff. There should be no political connections because, you know, you can't tell me that there's no influence. I mean, like, if I support the sheriff and he wins, you know, you can't tell me that I can't call him up and say, hey, I need this done or I need that done. It's not that it's criminal or, you know, questionable, but this is what happens. So Sheriff Burdnick, who was a lieutenant in the Clifton, New Jersey Police Department, volunteered, from what I understand, because my good buddy Jerry Spezial decided he didn't want to be the sheriff no more. And Sheriff Burdnick volunteered to take his place. And he did, and he won. Now, did he win because everybody liked him? Or did he win because he had John Kerry, who is the county Democratic chairman and the New Jersey State Democratic chairman, from what I understood at the time? So did he win because charismatic, you know, leader, or did he win because the party? Did he win because the party, you know, gave him their blessing and he won his office? So, you know, I was supposed to interview Mason Maher, but he must have watched some of my videos. He must have watched some of my videos and said, oh, I want to stay away from this guy. I believe that that's exactly what happened, because I've said stuff about the police and I've said stuff about the Democrats. And see, what, you know, early on in my program, I used to like shy away from certain things. You know, I was friends with the sheriff. I was friends with the police chief of police. I was friends with many police officers. So back in the day when I first started, I wouldn't say anything about the council. I wouldn't say anything about the sheriff. I wouldn't talk about police. You know, even though like black folks were getting killed by the police, I wouldn't say nothing. I felt like if I say something, I'm going to lose a friend. You know, I used to do that. I used to let, you know, and not that anybody told me I couldn't talk about police. I just felt like, you know, like I shouldn't talk about police because I didn't want to piss off none of my friends who I might need a favor from at some point. You know, so yeah, so I mean, as you can tell, I dropped that. You know, if you're mad at me, then you're mad at me. But the truth is the truth, and I'm going to tell the truth. Know what I mean? So yeah, so good luck to Mason Maher. I mean, will he be one of the people, one of the many casualties of folks who have run for sheriff of Passaic County and got shot down, not necessarily by the candidate, but by the party? All right, it's 2 minutes before 8 o'clock. Yeah, so I do plan on talking about midterms. And the OPEC, the organization, I believe it is for petroleum exporting countries, has decided that they're going to cut production of oil. OPEC announced, and this is like a punch in the face to Joe Biden, who announced that he was going to run again. And he'll be 80 in a couple of weeks. 80 years old, wants to still be president. I mean, I don't blame him. It's a hell of a job. You know, it's a hell of a job. You got your own plane. You got your own a big mansion. You don't have to pay for nothing. The taxpayers of the United States of America pay for everything. It's a hell of a job. I don't blame him for wanting to stay. But there's some people who don't want him to stay. We'll talk about that in just a few minutes. I got about 20 minutes left of the program. So we'll talk about that. And I got a couple of other things I want to run by you. So we'll take a break and we'll come right back with more of this program. It's the Ron Kelly Show, everybody. And it's on blogtalkradio.com, the Ron Kelly Show. Yes, indeed, I am the man. What a news cycle this is. This guy has got to go. Trump has got to go. George Floyd snuffed out by this police officer who's supposed to be serving and protecting people.
It's the Ron Kelly Show.
Alrighty then. Alrighty. It's 1 minute past the hour of 8 o'clock Eastern time, 5 o'clock Pacific time, and every 6 Central, 7. Yeah, y'all get it. Okay, my head is itching, and it's clean, by the way. Yeah, so the Democrats are doomed. I'm sorry, Benji Wimberly, Benji Wimberly, and the other lady. 35th District, doomed. So Herschel Walker's kid comes out and blasts dear old dad with kind of like an expose-ish kind of Instagram that would have sunk most people. They would have been done. It would have sunk most people for about what he said. I mean, when a kid comes on and blows his own father up, it's just unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. And it would have sunk most candidates. Their campaign would have been over. But you see, the Republicans don't give a shit. The Republicans don't care. They have no moral compass. They have no moral fiber. So they don't care about, they don't care about, what you do. They don't care. Just like with Trump, all the accusations, all the rape accusations, all the fraud accusations, the Trump University, and all the stuff with Trump, and people still like him, and they will still vote for him. And with Herschel Walker, the Republicans want that Senate. They want control of the House and they want control of the Senate. Because guess what? If the Republicans get control of the House and the Senate again, like they did with Obama's last year in office, he's going to get the same thing. Mitch McConnell wouldn't let anything go through. Barack Obama tried to nominate Merrick Garland, who's the Attorney General right now for the United States of America, and he had almost more than a year left in office, Barack Obama. And so when Barack Obama tried to nominate Merrick Garland, the Republicans who were in charge of the Senate at the time, Mitch McConnell was the Senate Majority Leader, said no. But when the notorious what's her name died, and Trump nominated Amy Coney Barrett with just a few weeks left to his term, it was all gravy. I think that Trump had maybe a month left in office, something like that, and Mitch McConnell allowed the nomination of Amy Coney Barrett to go through. You see, this is the thing with politics. It's just dirty in a lot of ways. It's dirty. Now, this isn't what the, Tom Jefferson, Lincoln, and all the people who were there signing the Declaration of Independence, et cetera, the Constitution, yada, yada, yada. This isn't what they signed up for. But they didn't realize, or they didn't understand that years later, politics, the purity of what they the purity of the Constitution, the simplicity of the Constitution got, swept up in the advance of society, I'll just say. So, it's just dirty. Politics are just like dirty. All right, it's 7 minutes past the hour, and I know I should be gone by now, right? But I'm still here because I started the show late, and I still have another 12 minutes before I go off the air. So fast forward to the Republicans, and the Republicans, they just want to control. See, because the president is nothing without the Congress and the Senate. Because everything the president does, he may have the Congress, like let's say the Congress is Democratic, and they can send, but the Congress is the lower house. The Senate is the upper house. So if you can have the Congress, but if you don't have the Senate, you're done. Like Barack Obama, he could not, the president of the United States, with all the power that carries, Barack Obama could not move Merrick Garland's nomination at all. It was stuck. So for the last year of Barack Obama's term, longer than that, but for the last year, he couldn't get anything done because the Senate stuck their finger in his eye, stopped everything. So the Senate is desperate to get that the power back, the majority back. And that's why there's so much focus on Herschel Walker and Raphael Warnock, who I haven't really heard anything from. Come on, Rev, rev it up. Haven't heard anything from Raphael Warnock. But the sad part of all of this is Herschel Walker, even with all the baggage and all the stuff he's done and the CTE, they're saying, and the mental health issues, the son says he paid for an abortion. With a train load of baggage, Herschel Walker has a good chance of winning that Senate seat. You see, because the Republicans don't care about, dignity, honor. They don't care about that. So they're already rallying around Herschel Walker and they're saying, oh, well, I don't think that's a big deal. You somebody who wants to ban abortion, but you paid for one, And then he turned down he turned down a debate with Raphael Warnock because he knew he was going to lose that debate. But even so, even if he looks like a complete fool, which he does, he's still going to win that seat. So this is what politics has melted down into these days, ladies and gentlemen. It's just filthy. It's like mud wrestling, And no matter how much mud you throw on Herschel Walker, Trump still likes him. And it starts with Trump, because if Trump turned his back on Herschel Walker, then the rest of the Republicans would turn their back on Herschel Walker. See, and that's the really sad part of all of this, is that you have a man who runs the Republican Party, and it's about the man. It's not about, because the Republicans were always, good government and smaller government, less taxes. I mean, you knew what the Democrats stood for prior to Trump winning the election or running in the election. So we knew what the Republicans were about. But now, who knows? The Republicans now are about Trump. They're shaking in their boots and they're telling lies and they're following Trump. And they're scared to death to orange Jesus. They're scared to death of pissing Trump off. And this is sad. This is really very, very sad that these folks, these Republicans, are afraid of Trump and will do whatever he says do, will back whoever he says back. Because they're shaking their boots, they're scared to death of Trump. It's just unbelievable. So it's not even about politics anymore. I mean, on the Democratic side it is, But again, the Republicans don't care about dignity and honor and telling the truth. They don't care about that. And Herschel Walker, despite all the train car load of baggage, is still going to win that seat. So they're going to have this nincompoop. They're going to have this nincompoop, Herschel Walker, as a senator from Georgia. And I believe he is going to win, because Raphael Warnock has been silent from what I understand. I haven't heard anything from him. But it may not matter. It may not matter, because he's going to because Herschel Walker is going to win anyway, despite his kid coming out and calling him the worst piece of garbage on earth, despite him going to ban abortion, and then it comes out that he paid for one. See, because the Republicans, they want somebody that they can control. They want somebody they can control, and Herschel Walker is somebody that the Republican Party can control. And that's another reason why. So you can put the devil himself to run for senator from Georgia, or one of the senators from Georgia, and the Republicans would vote for the devil, because they're so desperate to get that seat that they'll vote for anybody. They'll vote for Jeffrey Dahmer if he was still alive in order to get that seat. Doesn't matter who is in the seat, as long as it's red and not blue. Okay, everybody, I'm going to take off. It's 14 minutes past the hour. I'm about to break out of here, but I want to thank you guys for bearing with me while I attend to my technical issues. But we'll see you back here next Thursday evening for another edition of the Ron Kelly Talk Radio Show. And we'll see you back here again next week. So until then, I like to say it's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice, which I'm not most of the time. And that we may not have it all together, but together we can certainly have it all. So thank you so much for listening. And I think I am done.